So there is no waste in nature. This is the most important concept of everything we do from a holistic perspective, and it explains how everything in the planet and our health works. Everything about holistic health and wellness, real life, everything comes back to the concept that there is no waste in nature. So it's going to it's going to take you some time to fully grasp the depth and breadth of this concept. It applies to every single thing we're talking about, not just individual human or pet health and wellness, but of the planet, of ecosystems, of nature, of everything, all ecology. So there is no waste in nature. Let's try to understand that. So you can check my work on this, check the math, whatever, look it up and see if it's true and I'm right that there is no waste in nature. You're not going to find this anywhere in the world of modern medicine, because modern Western medicine is all about suppressing infection and illness with pharmaceutical drugs and trying to prevent something with a vaccine injection. So they're not even considering a natural approach or reason or cause to anything. Not to mention that there's no money in a natural solution to anything. So you're not going to find anything there about there being no waste in nature. But where you will find it is in college level forestry and nature and wildlife biology courses, forest ecology, wildlife biology, and especially in the teachings and of those people practicing things like permaculture and regenerative agriculture. Permaculture is the textbook example of there is no waste in nature. And permaculture, everything, the waste product is used by something else. And that's all it really is. No waste in nature means that anything that's a waste product of a certain organism is food for the next one. Nothing gets just discarded like we do in landfill. The concept is, in nature, nothing goes to waste. Everything has a specific purpose. Every cycle of death feeds new life. There are songs and poetry about the circle of life and the intricities and simplicities and the beauty of nature. The idea that nothing goes to waste is true. And it means that every single minute, seemingly insignificant detail in the ecology of our lives and our planet is in fact very important and necessary for some part of the life cycle of one or many other things. Okay? So I'm going to elaborate more in future videos about each thing, like the differences between bacteria, viruses, and funguses, and insects and things. But for now, let's think about dead trees in the forest. A rotting tree. It doesn't just rot and evaporate into thin air over several years. No. Usually fungus, which is mushrooms or the flowering part of fungus, usually mushrooms and fungus and bacteria and myriads of other microbes and insects are feeding off of and digesting the fibers and the other material that's in that dead, decaying tree. What's left is a compost pile of tree fibers that fertilizes and supports new plant growth. It feeds the soil. It provides shelter for insects and other animals. And all those bacteria and funguses and microbes and insects that decompose the tree and are living in the soil, they're also nourishing the soil to support further plant and aquatic and insect life. Think of, cow manure, cow patty out in the field, or a dead animal carcass on the side of the road or in the woods. There's bacteria, there's funguses, there's many types of microbes, dung beetles, insects, vultures. They're all feeding off of and deriving life and nutrition from whatever's dead or decomposing. There's worms and fly larvae in cow manure, and those become food for birds and insects. And as those birds and insects pick the fly larvae out of the cow manure, they spread it around and it becomes a compost that breaks down and feeds the soil and grows more grass for more cows to eat before they can produce more manure. You see, maybe as children or maybe even now, you see what's called the fairy ring, the circle of mushrooms in the yard where there was a dead tree or a tree was cut down years and years ago. Those mushrooms are the flowering parts of the fungus that's eating away the dead roots underground of that tree. They're not just evaporating into thin air. Something is eating them and feeding off of them. And that's the best example of no waste in nature. That dead tree is not just dead and useless. Something's living off of it and gaining life from it. So this applies to everything. It applies to all living creatures, all living systems, all ecologies. And what it ultimately means for those of us seeking health and wellness is that all disease exists for some rational, identifiable reason. All disease and parasites exist to feed off of some decaying or waste product in or on our bodies or in our immediate environment, whether it's in our soil, the fabrics and the materials in our homes are built out of, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, in our bodies, whatever. This is why traditional Asian, Eastern, Indian medicine genres always are treating illness by finding some excess or deficiency or correcting some underlying imbalance in the environment or the body. Because if there's too little or too much of something, then something has to come in, like a bacteria or virus or insect, and clean it up. And this is where the problems really lie in our modern world, is modern man. We create some excess chemical or fertilizer or pollution or whatever. And nature responds correctly by increasing a certain virus or bacteria or microbe or bug or mosquito that's coming along to somehow feed off of that excess waste that we've put into the environment somewhere. So nature's doing its job. There's no waste in nature. So when modern man creates too much of something toxic or dead or decaying, nature's going to create something to come in and eat that or clean it up or detoxify it or use it for good so it doesn't go to waste. And that's what we see as illness and infection and pandemics and all this stuff. It's just nature's attempt to feed off of and clean up and use some excess waste that modern man has made. Okay, we'll go into more specifics about, like I said, bacteria versus viruses versus insects versus other things in more details to hopefully allow you to have a better understanding of it. But for now, I want you to understand the concept. There is no waste in nature. It applies to everything, and it's the source of all health problems, I believe. Okay, thanks.